Welcome to the Dr. April Jasper Show, relevant conversations for business owners of today. We are proud to be sponsored by Zeiss. Zeiss has been a partner in our practice for so many years. We appreciate all of their innovation, their attention to bringing us new products to bring value to our patients. We're thrilled to have our new OCTA with the Cirrus 6000 in our practice. It has already been a tremendous asset to our practice. Our patients love it. Now is the time to invest in technology. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Dr. April Jasper Show. David and I are in our office for this one, and I think it's kind of special, don't you?
Yeah, it's always good to be here.
I know. We've been...
it's our second home.
It is, truly. And I tell patients, it's funny when patients come in, Dave, and they say, oh, I love the office. I look at them and go, yeah, I do too. It's actually a lot nicer than my house. Not as true anymore. We've done some repairs at the house, so I feel pretty good there too. But it's been a great place, and we've been able to do so much.
It's fun.
So we're in the optical, and what you're looking at behind us are a bunch of frames, obviously. You get to see our optical area. And we wanted to be here for this one because we're going to talk about something kind of special to both of us. And so we told everybody, David, early on in the year, we told you our goals. You know that David wanted to do an Ironman, and he's done a half, and he's doing a full in another month or so.
Yeah.
So he's doing what he said he would do. He's doing what he set out to do. But maybe nobody remembers what I said my goal was.
I think they do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, and I told him my goal was to finish my book, and it's been a work of a few years. And I think that I told you that one of the reasons I felt like I wasn't getting it done and I wasn't finishing it and getting it published was because I just was afraid. I was afraid that people wouldn't love it.
Right.
I was afraid that people would read it and judge me because there's a lot of personal stuff in it. It tells our story, not everything. Obviously, it's not that long a book, but there's a lot in it that really is near to our heart, as it should be.
Right.
But it's done. It's published. You can buy it anywhere you buy books. It's called Creating Your Business of Distinction. And what I found interesting is if you just search me on Amazon, you're going to find the book and you're going to find this podcast. So that's an easy way to find it, but you can buy it anywhere, and we hope that you will. And David's going to ask me some questions about it.
Yeah. So, I mean, what was your original inspiration behind creating your business of distinction?
Yeah, so Allie's been asking me questions for the students, and it's interesting because when we moved from commercial practice to private practice, I think one of the biggest challenges for me was how to turn a practice into a business. And now all of a sudden, I'm not just a doctor, but I'm a business owner. And there wasn't much training for that in school. And so you and I did a lot of that research ourselves. And we found through, and I tell a story in the book of a personal experience I had when I had meningitis in 2004.
Yeah.
And I was hospitalized, and the experience itself was so traumatic and so horrible at the hospital that when I did come home and thankfully lived to tell the story, I was a little messed up.
Yeah, because it could have gone one way or the other, right?
Yeah.
It was either what happened or it could have been death, because it was the other form will kill you.
Right. So, I mean, besides the pain and the misery and everything else, the experience, which we won't go into in the time we have right now, was so horrible that when we came home, I remember just being afraid. I was afraid to walk out the front door. I will never forget. You left one day. I'd been home. I'd been out of work for 2 weeks. And pain that was so significant that the most pain meds I could ever be on, they put me on, and I still was hurting through it.
Right.
So finally the pain subsided. I'm off my pain meds. I'm trying to just get back to living. And I remember there's someone knocking on the door. I don't even remember to this day who it was. And I tried to avoid it, and they kept knocking and knocking. So I finally go and I open the door, and just looking outside, I was terrified. I remember just starting to cry and being like, what is wrong with me? This is not normal. And I went back later, and of course, over time you get through things like that. But I went back probably a year later and really tried to break it down when I could without crying again and say, what happened? Why was it so awful?
Right.
And when I did, I started to understand that it wasn't just the illness. It was the way I was treated. It was the whole experience. And I thought, do we ever do that to people in our practice?
Right. Yeah. No.
And David will tell you no. And I know I never do that. But what it did send me down the path to learning and discovering and mapping out for other people was that there is a good way to do things and there is a better way.
Yeah.
And if somebody would have been able to map that out for me and say, hey, April, when you buy your practice and you jump into it, you're going to be an awesome doctor, because that's who everybody that comes out of school is. But there's some processes, there's some steps you can go through to have an amazing business that brings value to people and makes them feel better about life when they leave than when they come in or came in. And if I knew that, my goodness, I would have done things a lot different. And so our hope, I think, David, as you asked, what is the reason this all began? Because you and I have always tried to give back, and we want
Right.
for others to be able to read this and say, oh, okay, that's not so complicated. And
Right.
honestly, you can read this book, I think, in an hour and a half.
Yeah. It's a good one. It's good though. I mean, your 6 steps to distinction in eye care is just incredible. And it's not just eye care. You can use this in any business. We can use this no matter what we did. If we decided to open another business, this would be the same
Right.
model we would follow. Is there one step that you like better than the others, or that really stands out to you, or that
Yeah.
you feel like you can? Because I actually remember that day when you wanted to walk out and go back to work, and I remember you saying it to me then.
Really?
I remember it's very vivid in my mind, the day we walked out the door and we were walking around the truck, and I remember you saying that to me. And that's just, that's
What
just
did
impactful.
I say?
You said exactly what you just said. I'm like, I don't think I can do this. And that was
Yeah.
after what,
Whew.
almost 2.5 weeks of you
Of
being
being
in bed,
sick.
basically. And that day is very, very clear.
Did you think I was
Walking
not
out.
going to go back to work?
No, I was like, wow, I don't really, because you weren't hurting. Because I remember after
Right.
after the headache broke,
Yeah.
you were a different person. Because now all of a sudden you don't have a headache and you're free.
We are thrilled to have CooperVision as a sponsor of our show. CooperVision is a global leader in contact lenses, serving eye care professionals and lens wearers in over 130 countries with the widest range of prescription options. CooperVision can be trusted to have a contact lens that meets your vision, lifestyle, and budget needs. From 1 day to 1 month replacement lenses, there are lenses for most prescriptions in any lifestyle or budget. CooperVision brings us the first and only soft contact lens designed for myopia control and FDA approved to slow the progression of myopia in age-appropriate children. Thank you to CooperVision for living your mission to provide innovative products to help millions of people see better each day.
Right. So,
But I still didn't want to do anything.
but you were free of the pain, but there was still something going on up
Yeah.
in your head, because obviously you had been impacted by that.
Right,
The
Wow.
cerebral spinal fluid messed with your brain. It was the pressure, right?
right. Yeah,
So-
I was not quite me.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah.
So
no.
what do you think what steps do you think that you would actually?
So David and I haven't talked about this, so I
No.
think it's kind of funny that you're asking me, and I wonder honestly if you think the answer I'm going to give you is the answer I give you.
I haven't even thought about the answer,
Okay,
because I have my own that I like. So
Oh,
it's just
okay.
funny. But
Well,
no,
we'll see if it's the same. So there's 6 steps, and we won't walk through all of them, but I will tell you the one, and they're not meant to be a 6-step process that has to be followed from 1 to 6, but at the
Right.
same time, you can't do any of them without one. So you have to know the mission and vision for your practice, or you'll never be able to do anything. So technically that one is very important, but you can know the mission and vision for your business and do a terrible job
Right.
of having a business.
Right.
We've all walked into businesses and gone, never coming back here. They made me feel like, you know what? And they had all these things messed up. David and I could tell you story after story. You guys know them. And once you start paying attention to how people run a business,
Yeah.
you can't stop. Like, it's in your head. You will never stop. When you walk in the door, they have no clue what they're doing. All right. So back to your question. The answer is number 6.
Is it really?
It is.
That's funny.
Yeah. So the 6th step to distinction is all about empathy. And how do I
Right.
spell it out in the book? Is it right there for you to read?
Seal the deal with empathy.
So what I mean by that is you go through 1 through 5, you got it figured out, you kind of have a plan, and you don't, I think another thing that's important is don't let perfect make you stop going through a process. So a lot of times people think that it has to be perfect before they do anything. And so they don't change anything about what they're doing because they don't know a better, more perfect way.
Right.
And so I will tell you right now, please don't read 6 steps and think you have to have it perfect to make a difference.
Right.
Just get started.
Yeah.
But anyway, the 6th step is seal the deal with empathy. And what I mean when I say seal the deal with empathy is it goes back to the old saying that you've heard so many times, nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care. And it is so true.
Right.
My problem when I was in the hospital, I honestly don't think anybody gave a hoot if I lived or died, other than that it wouldn't look good for the hospital. And so you didn't get 1 ounce of compassion, of care. It was just do your job. And it
You
was
were
almost,
strictly a room,
Right.
a number on the door, and you had a number on your wrist, and it was just fix it and get out.
Right. It was pretty awful. And to the point where Kelly ended up coming in, my sister, who is a doctor, and she lives in Tennessee, and she ended up having to come to the hospital and getting me discharged because they didn't even want to let me leave. I'm there for now 2.5 days. I don't have infectious bacterial meningitis. I had viral. I had no reason to be there anymore. They weren't
Right.
going to give me more pain meds. I was maxed out, and I just wanted to be home, and the doctors wouldn't even come by and see me to give me the thumbs up to go home. And so, I mean, it was just from one moment to the next, I could tell you one thing after another that was just terrible about the experience. And so what I went back home and said after I had a chance to recover and start to think about it and say, God, what is the lesson in this for me? Because everything you go through, I tell people every day, do not let it not mean something.
Right.
So now you got to talk. Give me a minute. But I remember going through it and saying, what is the lesson, you know?
Right. And I think, I mean, just going through that, and then obviously this is kind of built on a presentation that you worked on. And
That's right. Yeah.
And this is obviously we did the presentation around the country, 20 different times around the country, and the video in that from what hospital was it?
So that was Cleveland Clinic.
Cleveland Clinic. Yeah, the video
Yeah.
from Cleveland Clinic is probably still on YouTube. Everybody can go watch it.
Oh, you guys should go watch it.
It's absolutely
Yeah.
incredible. So I mean, you don't know what that one person walking in your
Right.
door has actually gone through today.
Yep.
And what they've been through. You don't know if the person that literally just walked in your door just lost their daughter in a car accident,
Right.
or has their mom going through chemo and is like
Is
they're 3
struggling.
days from passing.
Right.
You just don't know what people are actually going through.
Yeah.
And to me, I think actually it's funny that I was going to say 6 is mine too.
Oh, I love it.
So it's funny that it's just so important to see things through other people's eyes.
It is.
And
Yep.
it's hard to put yourself in that when you're driving down the road and somebody cuts you off.
He's speaking of himself, by the way.
Yeah, that's definitely me. But, that's just one of those things that I have to think about for myself and work through myself.
Right.
And it's with everything. It's not just driving down the road with a stranger. It's relationships with friends and family and whatever else it may be. You have to always be thinking about what others need.
Well, and what it does for me when you think about it that way, and and the other thing that happens, I think, as I wrote this book and I walked through what this means to us, is it helped me to understand that I want to be my best every single day.
Mm-hmm.
And so people are going to upset you. I mean, I have people come in this office that are on edge, and sometimes you can tell they just had something happen to them before they came in. And I have to separate myself and say, I don't care what they have done. I don't care what attitude they give me. I'm going to do the best that I can for them because that's the job I've been given to do.
Right.
And in the end, guess what? I might be able to change someone for the better.
Right.
And then they leave here and they do the same.
Right.
I don't want them to go home and treat their family badly because they had a bad day. Hopefully I can stop that cycle right here when they come in this office.
Yeah. And you mentioned that in the book too. You mentioned the fact that when you're on stage, right? You know, Disney has a very particular thing that you don't let what's happening backstage on front stage or out on stage.
Right.
And you know, when you get out of your car in the morning and you walk in the office, you got to turn it on. Doesn't matter what
Yeah.
you're doing or what's going on at home. Doesn't
Or how
matter
you feel.
how the bills are going or anything. You have to come in here and you have
Yep.
to treat every single person like they actually matter.
Yeah.
And because they do.
Well,
and that's your life.
I think that it's just been such a wonderful journey putting the book together. Our hope is that as you read it, if you want more information on it, you certainly can reach out to us. We even have gone and done this presentation for businesses so that we
fantastic.
can help them to better be able to implement some of these steps in their business. So there's a lot. The intent for the book was to help people, and just reading it and following it will make a difference for you. But we also will be bringing out more articles that are all about that. And then, like I said, if you have a business that you really say, I want you to come in, April and David, and talk to our business about this and really make it relate to us in whatever that profession is, we love being able to do that as well.
Yeah, it's so much fun.
One step at a time, we can change the world.
That's
I truly
right.
believe it. So thank you guys for listening and watching me cry. And if you weren't watching, you didn't see it, so you don't need to watch it. Just listen. And David, thank you for supporting me all the way through it.
Yeah,